In this video, I'm sharing 3 simple steps to awaken your psychic abilities. I'll explain what the difference is between psychic powers and how to tune into your predominant psychic ability. And I'll give you some tips so that you can start straight away tuning in and get going. So let's start with the definition of what psychic is. So, according to the dictionary, a psychic is a person who claims to use extrasensory perception to identify information hidden from the normal senses, particularly involving telepathy or clairvoyance. So, what does this mean, and what is the difference between intuition and psychic senses? In the book Three Magic Words by U.S. Anderson, he describes intuition as the following. So he says, intuition describes our recognition and use of the great truth that mind is greater than matter, and that the universal subconscious mind contains the knowledge of all things and all times. So to me, really, the difference is that psychic powers are a honing of your natural intuitive abilities. It's using your intuitive abilities to such an extent that they are deepened and enhanced, and that leads to greater insight, and that is called psychic abilities. So we'll go deeper into it in a moment, but just to know that psychic abilities, it's not some secret power. It's not something that some people have and others don't. Everyone has the capability to awaken their psychic abilities. Some may have worked on it more than others. Some may be more naturally intuitive or psychic, but definitely it's available to everyone to awaken their psychic abilities. So how do you do that? So 3 things. Firstly, acknowledge that your natural sense of intuition is there. So everyone has this level of intuitive guidance that is always operating in the background. And if you ask yourself, when was the last time that you thought of a person or somebody came to your mind and then they rang you or they messaged you? And you might have thought, oh, that's just a coincidence. But what was really happening is they sent a signal, they thought about you, that energy wave arrived and you received that. And it's your intuition picking up on that. It's your intuition picking up on them, thinking about you, and then your phone rang or the message came through. And we all have that. We've all had those times. And if you are particularly intuitive, if you do use your intuitive muscle, so to speak, then you'll probably find it happens more often. So what happens is we often ignore our intuition and we often say, well, it was just a coincidence. But that doesn't mean that it's not there. It doesn't mean that you don't have it. Even if you dismiss it or call it something else, that is still your intuition at play. And what really happens is the more that we ignore it or dismiss it, the more it seems like we're not intuitive. But that's really not the case, because as I said, it's like a muscle and it has to be exercised in order to grow. And you really, when you start looking for opportunities to actively use your intuition, when you start tuning in and rather than Googling everything for the answers, maybe just pausing for a moment to ask your intuition instead. And of course, afterwards, you can go back and Google the answer after you've asked your intuition and got some guidance. But yeah, just starting to use your intuition first and foremost. And then you can look for the answers in other ways. But really just turning to your intuition first, asking yourself, well, what is the answer to this? And seeing what comes up, seeing what you're feeling into. And I'll talk more about this in a minute. The second tip that I'm going to give you is to become aware of your predominant psychic ability. So there are different types of psychic abilities, and most often we refer to the 4 clairs. Now, there are more than these, but we'll just go through these for the moment because these are the main ones. So there's clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairaudience, which is clear hearing, using auditory sense, Clairsentience is clear feeling, and claircognizance is clear knowing. So let's go through them in a bit more detail. So clairvoyance involves seeing images either in your mind's eye or in some cases seeing things in the environment around you. So this can involve seeing spirits, seeing angels, seeing spirit guides. It can also be visual cues which you are picking up on. But more often, people who are starting to tune into clairvoyance will see images within their mind's eye, and that will be how most people begin to develop it. Now, everyone has a predominant clair, and you can tune into which one you're most familiar with, or the one that you kind of gravitate towards. So let me explain the others. So clairaudience involves hearing words, and again, this can be in your mind, but sometimes it could be an external voice. So usually clairaudience, it'll be that little voice, that quiet voice in the back of your mind that keeps telling you something. It's what you might call, your intuitive knowing. And it can be very quiet sometimes. That voice isn't loud. It's not like the ego, whose voice is just constant and loud and, really in the foreground. You're in clairaudience is usually in the background, and it's usually quite quiet. So it really takes a bit of practice to tune into it. And then clairsentience involves feeling. So most of us will have a really good level of clairsentience, especially empaths. We're really good at feeling into what's, first and foremost, what we're feeling, but what others are feeling as well. If you've ever walked into a room after there's been an argument and you can feel the tension in the air, you might say you could cut the tension or the air with a knife. It's that palpable. That's clairsentience at work, and we all have that to some level, and that's usually the one that people find easiest to tune into. And then claircognizance involves knowing something deep down without prior awareness. So you may say to yourself after you find something out, oh, I knew that was the case. I knew he was lying to me, or I knew he was telling me the truth, or whatever it is. You might say, oh, I don't know why, but I just know that I need to leave this room for some reason. You don't have a knowledge of why that is, but you just have a knowing that you need to leave the room, or, it could be something else. But just that knowing, that clear knowing, without maybe awareness or evidence of why you know that. So that's claircognizance. So as I said, everyone will have a level of each of these, but one or more will be predominant in most people. So even though I would use all four of them, my go-to would be clairvoyance. I'd be more visual, and I would have a preference towards clairvoyance. For example, if I'm tuning into a guided meditation for my group, I'll close my eyes and I'll see it playing out. I'll visualize the guided meditation, and then I'll simply describe what I'm seeing for others to experience. And it's funny because recently inside Fiercely Spiritual Family, we connected with the angels. We were working with Barakiel, Fuel, and Ariel, and we were doing a powerful energy purification and psychic activation. And it was something that I'd gone through in my mind. I had walked through it myself, seeing all of the steps, and then I shared it with them. And if you're interested in experiencing that for yourself, I'll leave a link at the end of the video to download this Psychic Awakening guided meditation. I'll also put a link below in the show notes and in the comments for you to download it. So begin to explore how you sense the world and which of the four clairs you lean towards, and then start using it. So that's the third point. The third tip is to practice, practice, practice. So once you're aware of your predominant clair, if, for example, you are clairvoyant and that's what you lean towards, the visual side of things, beginning to actively practice using it. If it's clairsentience, start to feel into things. If you're making a decision, ask, how does this feel in my body? And just really tuning in. Is there a sense of ease, or is there a sense of tightness and constriction? And what does that tell you about the decision you're about to make? And you'll find it really interesting, because when you begin to ask these questions, I am making the decision, should I go for it? Yes or no? And tuning into yes, how that feels, tuning into no, how that feels. And you'll notice it's really palpable. It's really quite strong. And that only grows and grows over time as you use it more and more. So start with easy decisions or easy choices. Pick something like, what will I have for dinner? And feel into the different options. Your body will tell you what it wants. Or even if you want to use visual cues, close your eyes, and an image of a certain food might pop up. And then as you grow more confident, when you've started using this for the easy things, start feeling into more complex questions and decisions. And then as your confidence grows, you'll find you really begin trusting it more and more. And with practice, you can get really good at using your clairsentience, or whatever clair it is that you're tuning into. And you might even notice that other clairs begin coming to the forefront. They begin opening up for you as you flex your psychic muscles. So it could be that you're leaning into clairsentience, but suddenly you notice clairaudience also starts opening up for you, because you're embracing it and you're using it. So your psychic abilities can become your greatest ally if you use them. If you don't, they will waste away. It's like that saying, use it or lose it. And, really just set the intention to start today. And most importantly, have fun with it. Experiment, be curious, and enjoy the process, because that's what it's all about. I know some people can get frustrated if things aren't opening up as fast as they'd like to. And really what I would recommend is going back towards being lighthearted about it, because when you put too much pressure on yourself, when you place too much importance on it, then that's just a constrictive energy, and that's not going to work. So you have to be open, you have to be lighthearted, and bring that energy to it. So to start you off, the link to download the guided meditation should be here. And this is the psychic activation that I mentioned, and it's free to download. It's extremely powerful. So go and download it now, and let me know in the comments below if you've tried it and your experience with it. And I'll also leave a link in the comments. Thank you for being here. I will see you very soon for the next episode. Bye bye.